You've heard it 1,000 times. Truck drivers move America. But let's pause here and ask, do they really? Now, before anyone gets defensive, drivers are essential in the trucking. Nobody denies that. But to say drivers alone move America, this is where we have to say something. It's not just wrong, it's dangerous thinking. It blinds us to the bigger truth. Trucking only works when the entire system works. But let me challenge that, because when you crown one group as the hero, you erase the sacrifice, the struggle, and the sweat of everyone else who holds this fragile industry together. I hit it a lot of times. We are the drivers. We're the heroes in this industry. Without us, nothing moves. Have you heard those words? But let me challenge that. What happens when a carrier can't pay their insurance bill? Ask anyone from 2019 when rates collapsed, insurance premiums skyrocketed, carriers folded left and right. Do you remember those days? The drivers still have the lows to run? No. Why? Well, because trucks were parked by carriers. But what happens when brokers stop moving freight? Remember the early days of COVID. If you've been in the industry, you might remember. Shippers froze contracts, brokers pulled back, and suddenly drivers were running for the fuel money, not even making money. Not because they didn't want to drive, but because the system above them broke down, basically collapsed. And what happens when dispatchers stop negotiating with brokers? I've watched loads posted $1.50 a mile magically jump to $2.50 per mile when a dispatcher religiously refused to take or accept the cheap rate for the carrier or for the driver. That's the difference between profit and loss. Without dispatchers fighting that battle, drivers end up running at loss, and that's not good at all for carriers or drivers. So tell me again, who's the hero? Let me give you an example. Think about 911. When you call 911, who's the hero? Is it the ambulance driver rushing you to the hospital? Or is it the paramedics performing CPR in the back of the ambulance? Is it the dispatcher holding chaos all together, basically calming panic voices over the phone and sending the right help to the right place at the right time? The truth is, you can't pick one, and that's obvious, because without all three, lives don't get saved. Sure, but who's the hero then? The system is the hero, and trucking works the exact same way. So let's zoom out further and let's take an example from the human body. Very interesting. We've got 11 systems: cardiovascular system, nervous system, digestive, respiratory. Which one's the hero? If you say definitely respiratory, the heart might say, without me pumping blood, you're dead. The brain fires back, without me, you're nothing. The lungs argue, without oxygen, you're gone. The hero isn't the organ. The hero is the body itself. And trucking is no different. Now, let's talk about the carriers, the entrepreneurs, the risk takers, or we can call them the rainmakers. Drivers put in the miles, yes, 100%. But carriers, they risk everything. Their savings, their homes, their futures, everything. They are awake most of the nights, not because they're driving, but because they're holding the company together. I know carriers who refinanced their homes back in 2019 just to keep their trucks on the road. And others sold their businesses during the pandemic when freight rates just tanked, and just to cover the bills and run those trucks. Did drivers suffer? Yes, but carriers lost everything. And without carriers, there's no employment for drivers. That's the truth no one wants to admit. And dispatchers, obviously, my people. Everyone loves to bash dispatchers. But tell me this. Who keeps you from deadheading 500 miles? Who spends hours on the phone arguing with freight brokers so you don't get cheap rate? They are the invisible backbone of trucking. You may not see them that way, but you feel their impact every single day. And personally, I know dispatchers have kept carriers alive when rates drop significantly by hustling day and night. Honestly, without dispatchers, carriers and drivers would have parked their trucks and gone home broke. Let's talk about freight brokers, known as the middleman who takes everything without owning anything. Yes, brokers get bad reputation, But let's be honest, without freight brokers, most freight doesn't even exist for small carriers. Brokers are the ones that shaking hands with shippers, maintaining contracts, building trust so freight keeps moving and obviously trucks moving. Hate them or not, the truth is this. Remove brokers from the chain and half of the industry collapses overnight. Now, let's circle back to the drivers because you are the hero in the industry, right? Even within the role, not all work is equal. Let me explain. Drive-in is one thing. Flatbed is another thing. But what I'm trying to say is that think about the flatbed out in the cold, strapping, chaining, tarping, and what about the heavy haul? That's entirely different world. Moving 100,000-pound equipment through the mountains, coordinating permits and police escort, getting the level of responsibility most people can't even imagine. So even within drivers, who's the hero? The drive-in? The flatbed? The RGN drivers? Well, you can't choose one because all of them matter. Look at your daily life. The hospital bed you have seen, the medicine that you take, the chair you are sitting right now. And yes, it was delivered by a truck or a truck driver, but before it ever hit the road, it was dispatched by someone, brokered by someone, and financed and risked by a carrier. And that's the reality nobody wants to say out loud. So here's the truth. Drivers alone don't move America. That is the whole point of this video. And no, dispatchers don't, carriers don't, and obviously brokers don't. The hero isn't just one group. The hero is the system. And it's just like body. It works only when every part plays its role. I've been around in this industry long enough to see the cycles, really bad ones, as well as the good ones, obviously. I've seen the amazing years when everyone thought they're winning, and I've seen the chaos when companies folded overnight. And you guys remember the COVID 2019? And every single time, the lesson is the same. Trucking survives not because one hero, but because the system holds together. So here's my message. Stop fighting over the credit or recognition in the industry. Stop pointing fingers at brokers, freight dispatchers, drivers, or carriers, because when we fight each other, we destroy the very system that keeps America running. And the best way to go is to respect every role, value every piece of the chain, because only together do we move America. Because at the end of the day, it's not about me versus you, it's about us.